Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Strand Tennis Center podcast, filled with tips, advice, tennis, not tennis, just life advice too, whatever you need. Like it on YouTube, share it on the podcast as well. Thank you. Welcome to the Strand Tennis Center podcast here. We've got Seren Agar from Boston College. She's been on here before, but we like to do this before they leave and they get out of here. It's a great calling card. Goodbye. Back to the grind of homework. Well, you don't do much homework, though, Seren, do you?
Yeah.
Not really. Kind of a little bit. It's all the training. My question is, what would make a student stay at Rutgers University? I'm very curious, and I should ask Caroline that question, too. Because she didn't mention it, but she talked about SMU, and she said, well, their facilities are so great. And I was like, yeah, I think Rutgers has got a new outdoor facility, but what is it going to take?
To go to Rutgers?
No, to stay in state, like football. This is not to do with Rutgers tennis too. They lose football players, they lose basketball players. Some of the best athletes are in New Jersey. Why do we lose them?
I don't know. I think sort of what Caroline said about facility.
Not about grammar.
The facility is like super important. I mean, like BC doesn't have like the best facility, but I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't really.
It's just I'm telling you, it's branding because you don't really know.
Yeah.
It's just branding. It's like Nike or like Puma. You know what I mean? I mean, Puma's got a name, but it's just the brand.
Yeah.
So what if Rutgers got to, and Caroline was kind of smiling a little bit, but what if Rutgers got to the quarters of the NCAAs?
I mean, then, yeah.
Wouldn't it change?
It would change a bunch of
Everybody
things.
be like, wow, that's a great team.
I do know a girl that, she's at Rutgers right now. Her name is Naomi Parkey.
Yeah.
She's there right now. So she's from Jersey.
Yeah.
I used to train with her at Garden State.
Yeah. So I think it's like, and I was telling her, I was telling Caroline as well, Villanova in the 80s won the NCAA championship basketball-wise. Now they get great players. Mm-hmm. But you got to figure out how to do it.
Yeah. With
the players you have, like Creighton or a school that does something great at basketball, then they get players. Yeah. It's always the name. And I was telling somebody else this. University of Michigan we had that problem too. They were getting pissed off that every kid in the area was using it as a safety school. They were like, I want to go to Wake or Duke, but I'll get into University of Michigan. And now Michigan is like denying kids because they're pissed at that. Yeah. So it's tough. The brand is everything. But I asked her this question too. Training-wise, summer, do you feel last summer to this summer, coaches say the big difference is not in season, it's off season, how much progress you make. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree with that. Because, I mean, last summer I was injured, so I didn't really get to practice as much. And it was a lot harder because I tore my meniscus, which I told you this. And compared to this summer, I mean, I've been training, 2 or 3 hours a day, doing a lot more fitness. So hopefully in the fall I can do...
I'm there. I'm very aware now.
Hopefully I can do, some damage in the fall, win some matches, because I didn't play at all in the fall last year.
So you feel good about going into this year?
Yes,
obviously.
Confident, ready. I mean, I've been practicing so much, I sort of, I'm like ready to play matches.
Changeover on the team, new players. How do you feel like, where do you think you should play? And do you have an expectation of where you should fall in the lineup, you think?
So there is a big change in the team this year. I mean, we have 4 freshmen coming in. And I know Caroline's got 5 coming in. One of them's, I think she's a transfer from Columbia, but I guess she's considered like a freshman. She's a newbie. But it's going to be completely different. I mean, I talked to my coach and sort of told him, like, what do you think the lineup will be? But he hasn't really said too much. So I don't know. I think it just all depends, like, how you do in the fall. Because it's really important.
Speaking of coaches, we're asking about this. It's a different environment to be part of a team where the coach you can't fire. In other words, when you're playing tennis and you don't like your private coach, you just don't have to go to him again.
Yeah.
How do you deal with a situation where you're actually, maybe have a coaching situation where you're like, well, I can't say I want a different coach.
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm not saying there's any problems at BC. I'm just saying, how do you navigate a situation where you just got to listen to somebody? It's very different.
Yeah, sometimes it's like frustrating when there's times where I don't agree with my coach, on terms of like how I played like in a match or like how I'm practicing, or sometimes there's days he's harder on me than the other girls on the team. And I don't know, he sort of sometimes picks like favorites.
Okay.
It feels like, but
would you rather be addressed personally or in front of the group if you're gonna have an issue? Would you rather have it be one-on-one?
I think one-on-one. Yeah. I think if I'm like either having like a problem with the coach, which I don't really ever have a problem, it's just like the little things that sometimes bother me. But if I'm gonna talk to him about something, I'm either gonna call him or like talk in his office and sort of just address any situation.
Do you at least feel like it's based on merit, and if you do well, you'll get the position you want?
I do think that like when you are winning a lot of matches and when you're doing so good, he obviously sees that, and like he can sort of act different towards you compared to like maybe someone who's not doing so well or struggling with like their mental and like just classes in general. So he can sort of be harsher maybe on them.
Okay.
Which is a little unfair, but yeah.
I was asking too as well, training. Do you prefer just the group training, or do you take privates as well during the season?
Unfortunately, we don't do like privates.
Oh, you don't?
At all. Yeah, it's a little frustrating because like obviously
yeah, sure.
I like working one-on-one. I did it with my dad all the time. Like I need that like one-on-one training, just like be able to focus. But it's always just like group practices.
Any reason why they don't? Did they give you a reason? Have you asked, like, did you say, hey, can I have a private?
I've never asked, but like, when you talk to the girls, I think it's because of like maybe like how much he's getting paid for his job. I don't think it's like full time he's getting paid, because I know he has like another job. So I think he's getting paid like part-time.
So your coach has another job?
Yeah.
See, this is a whole other discussion about even Division I schools. Most of these coaches don't get paid anything. It's really difficult, and they need other jobs, and they can't spend time giving you a private because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
And this was another discussion. What if you got paid, which they're supposed to allocate a certain amount of money per schools. Would you, I didn't even think about this question. If you got paid as an athlete, would you use it for the private and say, hey, coach, I'll pay you for the private? Or would you feel like this is ridiculous that I got to pay him for the private? Would that be weird? I was just thinking of that. Say you make, I don't know, $5,000 a year.
I don't think I would.
Okay.
Just because some of the things he says, like, even in the group practices, it's like...
Oh, you don't think it'll be useful?
I don't think it would be useful.
Heads up. There we go. George, good move. If anybody gets injured before they get to their school, it's going to be trouble. But, so that's a whole other dynamic. You don't feel like it would be worth it. I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just straight up. I mean, do you feel, where is the learning coming from at the school then? Do you feel it's just between the players and you guys are being challenged by other players?
I think it's just like, I sort of just like show up to practice, do my own thing, what I've been doing my whole life. And just, if he says something, obviously listen to what he's saying.
So have you ever, I don't want to interrupt, have you ever had your father's great, but he wasn't a professional athlete and he didn't play in college, obviously. Yeah. Have you ever had a coach, like a coach each week for 5 years that was a real coach? And again, I'm not insulting your father, but you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean.
Good defense.
I haven't had a coach for 5 years, but I've had a solid couple of coaches.
Okay.
For maybe 2 or 3 years, and this was at Garden State.
Yeah.
More like during the junior tennis.
Sure.
And I learned a lot from them. I think one thing that I may be good at is like remembering things they've told me, and
then saying, "Hey, Dad, we worked on this."
Yeah, I've never like really forgotten it. So like even when I'm at school, like if he's not really helping, like I just remember, and I'm like my own coach.
Okay.
Unfortunately, but like that's the only way.
It's an interesting way to do it, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously Richard Williams did it. I mean, there's no mystery there. But then they went to academies and coaches. Do you feel like, did you miss out on anything not having that all immersion kind of academy thing, or because there's different ways to slice it. Michelson, Alex Michelson from out in California, played at a small club. And he wasn't in an academy. He had a great coach, the Georgia's son's coach, University of Georgia's son's coach. I can't remember his name, but so did you feel like you missed out on something there? Do you feel?
I think I missed out like on a lot of opportunities, but like then again, it comes down to like who pays more. You know what I mean? And like, I did obviously get like good lessons and coaching from my coaches, but I was paying less. So maybe, he was not giving me maybe as much information, or he was like favoriting his other players, over me. Okay. So it was like, it's really who pays more to really gain more.
I guess that's the way it is. Yeah. But a lot of these facilities give the great players free time, and they have everybody else that's not good enough pay, because that pays the freight. Yeah. So that's usually the system with even IMG. Everybody goes to the camp and they pay a ton of money, and then all the real players play for free. Yeah. So there is a balance there. Have you ever felt like a coach, and I asked Caroline this, do you ever felt like a coach has been obviously just interested in you seeing what they can get out of you instead of your best interest?
I think so. Yeah. I know, like, I train at center court sometimes. I've been, when I was younger, I used to pay a lot there. And then, it just became too much and we couldn't afford it anymore. Sure. But that's when I went to Garden State, and then I came back and I was getting it for free. Yeah. So, I get along with the coaches there pretty well. And okay. I think they're, they have my best interests.
When did you, what's the first tournament do you remember winning when you were a kid? How old were you?
Oof. It had to be back in Australia, but.
Do you remember how old you were?
Maybe 9, 8 or 9.
So you can tell the story. You were born in Australia. You trained at you trained with Kyrgios?
I didn't train with him, but I did meet him, and he was watching me play a set one time.
Oh, he did.
When I was younger, I was like
He's
10.
such a nice man.
Yeah, he had his Beats headphones on. He was sick.
And you moved when you were how old back to the States?
When I was like 12 or 13.
Do you remember the first time you saw a tennis match? Was it on TV? Was it live? Was it your sister playing? And you really liked it. When's the first time you got exposed to tennis?
It was my sister playing.
Okay.
So she used to just, hit with some of her friends. And then I was sort of like, I want to try. I want to pick up a racket, play with her, see how I'm doing. And then, for a while she was better than me, and then came to a point where I started beating her.
It's a good feeling, right?
Yeah, it was. But I think my sister sort of.
And was there any player that you admired the most? Were you like, oh boy, I want to be like this player?
Professional?
Yeah.
For a while, it was Caroline Wozniacki.
That's so funny. McGinley said the same thing.
Did you actually?
Yeah, she said the same thing.
Yeah, I loved her. She was so aggressive.
But she was a defender. She wasn't that aggressive. That's
I feel like her energy. She was just like.
Oh, her energy.
Yeah.
Because I remember her just putting the ball in and play all day and outlasting you.
Yeah, but
she ran all over the court.
I really liked her game style a lot.
That's funny.
Yeah. Caroline Wozniacki.
I never thought that, because you're more of an aggressive player.
I don't know. I liked her. I don't know what it was about her. I remember when she beat Simona Halep in the finals. That was a sick match.
Oh, in Australia?
Yeah.
She won the slam?
Yep. Okay. And then she retired, I think.
Well, she's playing again, right?
She is playing again. Yeah, she's back at it.
Anything, what are my list of questions here? Sometimes I just get into these conversations. I forget to ask the good ones. No, I think I went through them all. Training questions. Anything that, besides YouTube, have you ever, reading books is really rough these days. Is there any particular book, mental toughness, anything that has helped you?
I don't know.
reading is so different these days.
Yeah, my sister and I were going to go to Barnes & Nobles today, and then we're like, nah.
We're out of here.
Like, no one reads anymore.
Old. I read.
I did watch the movie a couple days ago, King Richard. It was funny you brought it up. I watched the movie. That was good.
It was good.
Yeah, right. Such a good movie. I'm more of a movie person than book. I feel like everyone is.
I wonder why.
Unless it's like school work and you're reading an article.
Books are the biggest ROI you can get. You can read a book, and this is, I'm going to lose. Everybody's going to fall asleep right now. Everybody's like, shh, not like a light. You can read the history of the greatest, anybody, the greatest athlete, entrepreneur. It'll cost you $5 and you'll find all their secrets. But you're like, forget it. I'd rather be on TikTok or Snapchat.
I read It Ends With Us. That's a good book.
What book?
It Ends With Us.
The movie?
Yeah,
It Ends
they made
With
a movie.
Us?
Yeah. Did you watch the movie yet? Let's not get into that.
Oh my God, it's like The Notebook.
Well, it's about escaping an abusive relationship.
It is?
Let's.
George knows. It's not good.
Yeah.
That my cameraman with all the tattoos knows a love story book. What's the controversy, George?
There was some stuff with filming with the main actor, but also the marketing that they were doing was like kind of too positive. It was like, flowery romance stuff, but it's really about like escaping an abusive relationship.
But that
Did
was
you
like,
watch the movie yet?
But was that
Yeah,
that was
me
like the
neither.
Challengers movie, right?
I hated that
movie. It was
movie.
so terrible,
It was so
but it looked
bad.
like this weird threesome thing when it was just the coach. It was very
It's funny
strange.
because everyone in my circle loves that movie.
That
I hated
movie-
that
Well,
movie.
The problem is, as tennis players, you hate that movie. They don't play like tennis players. It's awful. The whole thing's
Their
terrible.
form, the
The
form
form
was
is
so
terrible.
bad. It
Yeah.
was so bad. I was
hate
like
on
cringing. No, I love Zendaya, but the movie just itself was really bad.
The only one that was a pretty good tennis movie was called Players. It was in the 70s.
players.
Dean Martin's son was actually a professional tennis player, and he played in this movie, and he's a real player, so it looked pretty good. But anyway,
Player.
Agar, thank you. We got to go do a training session now. No, more of the story. No one reads books, and don't listen to your coach. See you later.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody. Hope you like the podcast. Please share it with your friends, anybody that you know, anybody that's into tennis, anybody that's into bettering themselves. Share it.